Okay, for people who are joining this live stream, we are discussing Wolfram language design, our infinite series of incremental language design meetings. Tomorrow we have a more strategic language design meeting, which we will be live streaming about code robustification and error handling and so on. Okay, today we are starting off with the echo family.
Right, so we currently have two functions, echo and echo function, with that structure. And we are right now thinking of adding echo label, echo timing, and quiet echo.
Okay.
Right, so I think the main thing here is the question of whether we want these only. This is a slippery slope. I mean, certainly we could add many echo functions, but I think we've always tried to not to add too many, because this shouldn't be some sort of debugger functionality.
Right.
And so we wanted to discuss with you just a couple of very tiny questions, like, for example, the fact that echo function has the structure function and then label function. I don't remember why we decided to have label function rather than function label. And so whether echo label now should have one or two arguments in the first bracket.
You mean the issue is that echo label would then be just like echo function, but with a different default. Is that correct? That we would make echo label have a 2-argument form, label comma function, which would then be exactly equivalent to echo function.
Exactly. If it had been function label in echo function, it would have been nicer.
Why?
To have label. Because it would read like the first argument is. Because when we thought of echo function, we thought of it as an operator form. And that function comes from operator form. But now I think we are thinking of it as echo with a function. And echo label would be echo with a label as operator form.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me so much, actually, I have to say. I mean, basically what we've got is the 3 different, look, we've got expa label function. I think this is okay. An echo label then becomes it could have this form label comma function. I'm not sure if we want to support that one.
Right. So that's
let's not support it. Let's initially not support it. Let's just support echo label of label. Okay? Because I have a feeling we might want to decorate that label a little bit.
I see. Yep. I see your point.
Like giving it different cell types or whatever else. Okay, let's talk about echo timing.
Right. So echo timing, I think we have discussed it a few times, and I think that's going to be super useful. Now, the thing with echo timing is that it might suggest we need the equivalent for memory functionality, like report how much memory was used during this computation. That's one thing. The second thing is that the first argument has to be held first. And this is something that has been suggested in various ways before. Like, for example, people say, oh, why don't you have a function echo that prints both what the expression was before evaluation and after evaluation?
By the way, it sounds like Christopher is going to finally show up here. Maybe we should come back to this when he's here, because I think he's going to have direct opinions about this. So why don't we go on to our next item and come back to this in a couple of minutes.
Perfect. Okay, so here this comes motivated from email, from an email from a user.
Let's make a function repository function for this.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Yeah. So
don't think we should canonicalize. I don't think we should turn. Wait a minute. Is this really true that it had? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I see. I see. I see. Yeah. Right. So I think we should just make this a function repository function that finds the canonical form of a Turing machine rule, because there's a slippery slope of many different versions of this. I think it should be a function. We should have functions going both ways, both from this to the numerical form and the other way around. And we should do the same thing for cellular automata. And Yarn M could do that. Okay, it's a good idea. There are some other things with Turing machine. I've just, coincidentally, what's in my screen background here. Coincidentally, my computer is tied up actually running giant Turing machine computations. So where Turing machines are in today. But there are some bugs which I think Jan M or somebody else should work on that have to do with Turing machines with one state and one color and so on, which the Turing machine function is complaining about.
I saw that, and that's exactly that corner case. So in the previous section, we found in your book precisely the formula that generates these rules, and this is what
Great.
we applied.
So let's just put it in the function repository, and then we're good. Let's see any problem
so
with that?
This. No. Actually, at the end, is one of the suggestions. Whether it was the main question, whether you wanted this in somehow in system, or this was a function, repository function.
Oh, I see. That's an interesting thing. A property of the Turing machine function. No, that won't work. We can't have properties because we're right now we're using it as an operator. There's an operated form of Turing machine. Okay, so look, in terms of the Turing machine function, there's a whole can of worms to do with non-deterministic Turing machines. Let me just, we're not going to cover this here. I think what we're going to do, one thing we do need to do is plan to make multi-way system, a system function for 12.2 at the very least. And that will need some design reviews.
Would that be like a general function, or would it only take like Turing machines and cellular automata and so on?
It takes substitution systems. It takes almost anything. I think it should be able to take any list of functions, and it will tree them out.
Should not just be able to take, right, any just, yeah.
See, the problem is, let me explain the problem. The problem is, it can take any function that returns a list. No, that's not correct. I'm sorry. The difficulty is that it's a pretty complicated function. I mean, it has many tentacles that.
I mean, but by the way, it's heavily related to nest graph, except slightly more efficient, maybe.
It is heavily related to nest graph, isn't it?
But nest graph has some. I mean, you should learn from some of the mistakes in the design of nest graph, because nest graph has some weird stuff where, like, depending on, like, if you have a function that just happens to return a list, right, as opposed to a function that returns a list of different outputs, these get handled in weird ways, and there are weird things that nest graph does.
To give a sense, though, of what happens in the multi-way system, let's see. I'm just going to pull up the multi-way system page. I mean, this is a complicated function. It has many. I mean, the rules. There's the types of rules it can handle right now.
I think it can surely be more general than that.
Yes, it presumably can be. Although what's tricky here is that some of these things have multiple outputs, not because there are multiple functions here, but because there are multiple ways to apply a single function. Like, it's a string substitution system, but the string can be substituted in multiple ways.
Right. So, I mean, this is, for example, what nest graph deals with, but the semantics of it are slightly wrong. So, I mean, you would always just have it so you can give it a list of functions or a single function, and for every function that it gets, it will assume that that function returns a list of outputs, and not try and do any voodoo about, guessing whether this is a list of outputs or whether it's a single output that happens to be a list. And then, right. And if you have the latter case, you just wrap it in a list before you return it.
So you claim that this is, okay, well, that's interesting. So
the other thing just to mention about nestgraph is that nestgraph assumes that the function is non-deterministic. So it'll actually run it many times, I believe. Do you get what I mean? Like if there's a cycle in the graph,
yeah,
right? Or if you had, like if I have string reverse as my function, and I say nestgraph 100 levels, it will actually run string reverse 100 times, even though it'll be like, I've already been here before. Why should I apply this function again? It does it again anyway, presumably because it doesn't know the function is deterministic. But
you know what? There should be a method option for nestgraph to say that it's a deterministic function and cache it. Anybody
I think the most common reasons, like, yeah.
Was that a Jose function? Is nestgraph a Jose function?
No, this is not mine. I mean, wouldn't making F memoizing solve that problem?
I think it would.
Yes, it would.
But it would be, I mean, it would solve it, but like there are cases where you can have some combinatorially, like rapidly expanding thing where even if you're memoizing it, it might not be perfectly efficient. Like I think you just want to prune, like if F returns, let's say that we've already visited vertices A, B, and C, and now I call F on D, and it returns A and then two other Q and R, like some other new vertices. You should just prune out the A, right? Because otherwise you get this combinatorially huge thing of it just going in a loop and adding to the frontier, so to speak.
Okay, so look, the basic point here is we should get it on our project list to get multi-way system cleaned up, and we should do a design review of multi-way system. Because I mean, right now, multi-way system has just a huge number. Look at all these things it can produce. Causal graphs, branchial graphs. Look at all these things.
Do you think all of these are general, or these are?
Yeah, they're general. They're all quite general. I mean, arguably they can be repackaged, but things like the Knuth-Bendix completions and so on, those are perfectly general. I mean, they, you can. Well, I think they're general. Certainly, many of these things are general. Whether, like for example, the way this is packaged may not be right. It maybe should be factored better. Okay, anyway, going back to TuringMachine, then we're going to come back to the echo functions, which is okay, so this was Turing machines with one state or one color. And I really think that those are, wait a minute, are you saying that it's not obvious what we do in those cases?
No. I'm saying that the algorithm that generates the rules works for those cases. So I totally agree that.
Yeah, I think it's just silly. I think that the issue was that, you know what, I think the problem is that the graphics code still draws a little pointer. I think the graphics code should just draw the pointer up in the case where there's only one state. It's fine. Just have a little arrow pointing up, and it's always pointing up.
I haven't tried rule plot on those results.
It doesn't work for these here.
Yes.
I have to be careful because I'm running this stupid I should just, this is the problem with large overnight jobs, is that you never know when to kill them. I mean, I've been running this thing, and the fact is I should probably kill it because it's probably going to be, it's never going to finish. I set up something which is basically way too big to ever finish. But I just don't have the heart to kill it. So you guys have to.
What, did you make a projection about when it would be done?
No, I didn't. I didn't think about it. I was too tired, and I just started it off and went to sleep.
I see 4 to the 14 in that notebook, which is not a great sign.
I know. That was me estimating roughly what could possibly happen. And let me just look at one thing here. I'm just going to see whether the main challenge here is whether the data size has gotten too big. 79 megabytes. That's not that big. 99 megabytes. Not so huge. 189 megabytes. Okay. I was worried it would get into the gigabyte range. Okay. Okay. Well, never mind. Oh, it got a long way. All right. Maybe I should just kill it and be. Yeah. I'm going to run this here. Okay. So this is TuringMachine. I think this is going to error out. Oh, it worked. Huh.
Well, because rule plot, I don't think it doesn't know how many states there are.
Oh, you know what errored out is if I only give one of those, it just doesn't work. And there's no reason that shouldn't work.
Right. This should be listable.
Well, effectively, yeah, I mean, this should work and just give one case in the TuringMachine rule. And if it tries to run it and it finds a rule it doesn't have, it just says, sorry, I found a rule I don't have, so I can't go on. But the rule plot shouldn't care. Okay, let's come back to the echo. Somebody was commenting. Oh, the SpaceX launch is about to happen. Hope that goes well. Can we follow that? And I assume that our satellite tracking, well, that's a good question. Is it tracked by the flight tracking system that the FAA provides? I don't know. Do spacecraft have like squawk codes and all the usual things from planes? Do spacecraft have tail numbers?
Something tells me I don't think that the spacecraft itself has to talk to air traffic control, but
well, I know that they have. Know that they have a system for clearing ordinary air traffic out from the area where there's going to be a launch. But the question is whether the system is so standardized that it gets a tail number and things, and it's I don't know. A good question. I mean, it's a good question whether it's obviously on radar, so it will have it will show up there. I don't know.
I guess Jeff eventually will get the parameters of the orbit.
Oh yeah, he'll get the parameters from NORAD, but I think that takes it passing over wherever the radar system is that picks those up. But I think it's a good question. Actually, we should ask the question if they're going to be so many more of these launches. We should ask the question whether there should be a feed of launches that are happening. We should probably have it in Wolfram Alpha. Can somebody take that to the Jeff? Presumably is the right person to ask that of.
Yeah.
Brian is saying spacecraft require permission from the FAA. FAA may not track it, but NORAD certainly does. Yeah, absolutely. But NORAD better be doing that. That was their original mission during the Cold War. But I don't know whether our feed. I thought that our feed was based on. Well, I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe somebody can ask. Yes, right. Brian is saying that the feed from NORAD will be delayed, just like for commercial air flights. Yeah. That's a very confusing thing because you can forward project the vectors, assuming that the thing it's all rather confusing. Actually, it's a little bit more complicated what actually happens there. Okay, let's come back to echo. Christopher, we were talking about echo, and we were discussing echo timing and the question of what it actually does. So it's a hold first function, unlike the rest of the echo family.
Right.
But Jose, you were just saying something about a proposal for echo timing.
Yes. So the thing is that until now, our echo functions were not hold first. So echo timing is the first one that is hold first. And it has been requested other times that we have more of these hold first echo functions that for example, to print both the expression before evaluation and after evaluation. And thinking about this, we realized that we have a similar idea in the other function called paired, which we wanted to have paired expression, comma f, returning the expression and f of the expression.
Yes.
So the question might appear there too. Do we want paired to be hold first so that f can receive something before evaluation? And can we mix paired with echo to achieve multiple things?
So I mean, at some level, what is the advantage to some, like, okay, what would be the advantage to some sort of echo paired thing over just writing echo of f of echo, right? Like just write echo twice. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. So one thing was, for example, in echo timing is that we don't want to evaluate the expression twice. And
Sure.
so by evaluating absolute timing of the expression, we get from the result the result. And so
Okay, so in this case, we have what goes in, what comes out. So the only issue is a sandwich there that would say, what would be the sandwich here? The sandwich would be, see, because paired is not, I don't understand what, is there an echo of paired? No, I don't think so, because I think what we want is the echo before and after, like this. So this is like a sandwich. This could be a, it's like an echo sandwich, although that's not a very good name, but a factor integer would do the equivalent of that.
So an idea is what we have later on, this paired definition in which the first argument is held. And so we can use then paired of a function to print both the expression before evaluation and after evaluation. Unfortunately, it's the wrong order, but you have both there.
I see, the paired, I see, this case here.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's talk about echo timing for a second, what we actually want it to do. Because we might want to print the expression, we might want to print the timing, and we might want to print the time into the evaluation, and we might want to just annotate echo. I mean, for example, we might want to, how would we annotate echo with the time so far in the computation?
Well, you can use echo, echo has a second argument, which is the label.
I know that, but how would we get the time so far in the computation?
Well, by evaluating multiple times echo timing. No, sorry, no.
No, that
no,
won't work.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how you do that. I mean, there's, in other words,
do we accomplish this with the method option?
No, because, well, yes, but I mean, in terms of design, but how do we actually do the computation? That is, at the beginning of the computation, we're saying,
what is the, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, if you'd said timing of blah, 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 is there a function you can call inside the function, you're inside the expa, so that it says, since this outer timing was called, this amount of time has elapsed? Or do we not care?
I mean, but so time elapsed since when? Since shift enter, or
no,
since what?
Since the evaluation of timing began. So in other words, what I'm thinking is a start timer or timing block of and then it's pause of 1 and then echo time so far and then onward.
Would be 1.
That would be 1, yes.
But I mean, at some level, you only really care about the relative times, right? I mean, most of the time you just care that, you don't care exactly when it started, but you just care to see this happen and this happened 1 second later and this happened 1 second later, etc. I mean, it's convenient if you don't show a giant number where it's like the Unix time or something like that.
No, I agree. That's why I'm suggesting this. The timing block would start the timer.
At some level, though, I think that this sort of defeats the point of having it be echo timer, because or echo timing or whatever it's called, because the point of echo is that you don't have to add a bunch of stuff into your code.
Oh, I agree completely. I'm saying this is different functionality. I mean, echo timing would be, the purpose of echo timing is an inward looking thing that's just simply asking for expa, reflect the timing of expa.
Yeah.
So, in other words, show how much time it took to do that. So I would assume
Yes.
that echo timing would be pretty commonly wrapped around a complete expression. Well, I mean, let's see. Do we have an implementation?
Yes, echo timing is working.
Okay, fine. So I can just say, I could say basically table echo timing factor integer 2 to the n minus 1, and then I just doing a table there and 20 or something. That's rather ugly. And why is there a double colon there?
That looks like the general utilities echo timing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what's this?
This is the general utilities function. We have actually eliminated this function because echo timing does this better now.
Well, so how do I run the new echo timing?
It's present in 12.2.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, look at that. My 12.2 is not gummed up running Turing machines. I don't even know how I was managing to run this echo timing here. I like the fact that it's showing microseconds. That's cool. What is this maximum echo rate exceeded? Is that relevant to our current discussion or not?
I don't think so. I think this is something that general utilities does. It has a maximum of 10 per second. It will not print more than 10 per second.
Is that useful functionality?
I don't think so.
Was that a tally thing, and why did he add it? Because
once we are following in time something, this looks more like a monitor thing, like a panel monitor thing, type of thing.
Okay, so there's echo timing. Whew, do we like those very tiny times? I guess you're not really going to see tiny times most of the time. The case we're going to use this is where these times aren't so tiny.
Right.
Okay, so what this did was it evaluated only at the moment of timing. It's using the timing function. It's not using absolute timing. Is that correct? So if I were to do this on
it uses
pause,
absolute timing by default.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
I think in general, people care much more about absolute timing than they care about timing.
I agree.
But it is sort of an unfortunate naming thing because the name echo timing does kind of imply that you want timing instead of absolute timing, but it would be kind of ridiculous for it to use timing.
Should we be deprecating timing in favor of absolute timing? Because maybe timing has become meaningless in the modern world. I mean, it was designed at a time. I mean, I don't even know when we're calling library link functions. Are they included in timing?
I would assume so. Oh,
sorry. Well, who is?
I'm sure that mathlink calls are not included, but library link, I don't know.
I would guess library link they are because I mean it is the kernel. Like it's the same process and so on.
Fair enough.
It's counting towards CPU time of the. I mean, I would argue it is probably still useful. Like it shouldn't be deprecated, but I mean.
Well, but we could change the default. Yeah. We could make timing be absolute timing, and we could have a method option. Because what concerns me is subprocess.
That might break a lot of things, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bit too late to change that.
Well, but what about all the subprocess timing? We never managed to get. We had a plan like 5 or 10 years ago to have WSTP, mathlink processes pass through subprocess timing information and so on, but that was never implemented. And I have no idea when there's multiple threads going on and so on. I have no idea what timing reports. I mean, the only thing that seems to me to make sense is the absolute timing of, what came out. How long did it take wall clock time for something to come out? I don't even know what does CPU timing mean when there are multiple threads.
I think this is well defined. Like I think OSs know, right? Like so, for example, there's the Unix time command, which still works, and will measure your CPU time and so on. So I mean, I think that.
What does it measure?
well, it has 3 outputs. It has user, which is like it has wall clock time, user time, and system time, I think. For the
Yes, that's what I remember too. Yeah. But what?
But I don't know. I think it's some OS defined thing, I would guess, which is what timing hopefully uses.
Yeah, the documentation for timing suggests that it's OS dependent on certain operating systems.
Right, but
with
I mean, so
multiple
we could
CPUs, it may
define
give
it.
you the sum, or it may.
Right, but you see, we could
ignore
redefine
others.
that. I mean, we could perfectly well define timing going forward to be wall clock time, because I just think it's getting so undefined. What?
I mean, if OSs have a definition, I mean, the argument for it's undefined, so therefore we should do something. I think that usually comes in the case of like it's undefined, we don't know what to do, but there is a well-defined thing to do, and that is just use whatever the OS says. And so I don't think that there's a reason to do that, and it would probably break a bunch of existing stuff. I mean, this is sort of the cop-out thing, but you could always just sort of say, oh, for the code assistance project, have a little thing. Are you sure you don't mean absolute timing when someone says timing? Because I think that's the only real problem, is that people who don't know Mathematica very well write timing when they mean absolute timing.
What does this mean? This is time utility. Is this a different time? This is the Unix time function, isn't it?
Yes.
So what is it saying here? The total time elapsed. Oh, the time consumed by system overhead, the time used to execute to the standard error stream. Okay. What the heck does that mean? The time used to execute it?
I mean, if you go to your computer does have a well-defined thing of CPU time. How much CPU time is such a process used?
What does it do with threads? What does it mean when there are multiple threads operating?
I think it sums them. Like, I think that you can have, I think I've seen this before. I'm pretty sure that you can have a function where the user time is longer than the wall clock time because it's running on multiple cores.
I see. So the user time. So what does timing do with respect to multiple threads?
We do the same. We sum.
So if you say timing of parallel evaluate of pause of 1 on 4 kernels, it will say 4 approximately.
I don't think it will, because I don't think timing.
I don't think parallel works with timing.
Okay, sure. But if there's a function that internally use some other, okay, sure.
Yes. At least it's supposed to. This could be platform dependent, believe it or not, but it is supposed to sum overall threads.
This is very troubling to me, that I think I'm running my whole giant Turing machine adventure, and my kernels are only using 0.1% of my CPU. They're either finished or they're completely I/O bound, which is really odd. Sorry, never mind. So
that would be a reason to look at this the CPU time there and compare it to like the system time or something. But
let's take a look. Let's see whether this has it.
Just as you're arguing that these things aren't useful.
Percent of the GPU. Okay, so let's take this as an example. Where's the PID? Where is the PID?
On the right.
Okay.
But you see, it does also list CPU time.
Oh, I see. Oh, it does, yes. All right, but it's only using 0.1% of the CPU, which is really suspicious. 71836. So this should be, I should be able to say in here, system process data, if this all works correctly, 71826. Why doesn't that work? This is probably going to give some giant data structure, which, okay, so this has system time, user time, etc. So presumably I can say here, I mean, just for the sake of, because I want to debug this anyway, but it also helps me to understand what's going on. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Okay. All right, so these are then launched. Okay, so what am I supposed to understand here?
So the system time is really low. So that means it's not I/O bound.
Well, and the real time is immensely high, which that's because it was launched. It's a parallel kernel that was launched ages ago. but it hasn't been spending much CPU time. It's really weird. Well, okay, who knows what went wrong, but
maybe one of them is spending all the time.
Yeah, that's possible on a different machine. Anyway, okay, so what do we learn from this? And that's running on 11 threads. So given that it's running on 11 threads, this user time sums up the contributions from all those threads. Is that right? Even though those may be happening simultaneously. Anybody know? I mean, this is completely non-committal about threads.
Yeah, I think that's what it does. Or actually, I don't know about threads. I mean, I think it's with cores. I don't know how that, like,
I see.
Yeah.
And then there's a question of genuine cores versus fake cores and so on.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Okay, so Brian on our live stream is saying the process time counts the sum of the values from all of its threads. Okay. Each thread tracks. Okay, so the claim is that the OS is tracking the number of CPU clock ticks not spent idle and allocated to this process, presumably. Okay, so I mean, it's a slightly complicated story then. And I really do think we should consider the possibility that we simply redefine what timing means, because I think it's becoming undefined. But
well, I would find dangerous to change the meaning of timing, but what would help the user certainly is to rename timing to CPU timing or something like that, because they do get confused. If there was only absolute timing and CPU timing, you would be forced to choose.
I see what you're saying.
But if we
but people just want timing. I mean, they just want something that gives them the time it takes to run something, which I think to them, I mean, if we had CPU timing and absolute timing, and then we made timing change its default, I don't understand why you think it will break anything.
Because there might be people who are using this function in the true way.
Why? I mean, how? Why would it be different? In other words, in what case would it be well defined to have a difference between absolute timing and CPU timing?
Well, I don't know. For example, I have these codes to do computations, and sometimes they go out to sea and do things there. And I have used the difference of timing and absolute timing because I know that via mathlink, timing doesn't count.
Okay, so you're using the fact that this is, in fact, something that, yes, but you see that that's, you're using it incorrectly because we wanted it to count through mathlink. We just never got around to implementing that.
Well, what I do is I evaluate both absolute timing, and then look at the difference.
No, I understand that, but my point is this. My point is timing right now has a bug that it doesn't include WSTP subprocessors, as far as I'm concerned. I consider that a bug.
So you consider it a bug. I see. I thought this was a feature.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a, I think that, I mean, if we look at the documentation for timing.
The other thing is, I think comparing system time, comparing timing and absolute timing. Oh, sorry. Is it better now?
No.
Oh.
Maybe something went wrong for me. Okay. Anyway, go on, keep going.
Okay, well, I mean, comparing timing and absolute timing, like numerically, I think is dangerous as well.
Disconnected some microphone or something because you just.
Okay, well, I can try restarting.
I can hear Christopher very well.
Oh, okay. Well then, okay. I have something problem with me. Okay, go keep going.
I was just going to say that I think numerically comparing, the wall clock time and the CPU time also seems like it's a little bit dangerous because, again, if you're running with multiple threads or something like that, these could be just totally separate things. But yeah, I mean, I agree though that I think that I have to imagine that there are places where people use timing and they mean it.
Well, okay, so look, on this basically says we don't know whether it's going to use different things from different threads. Okay, it does not include time spent in external processes. All right, well, whatever. Okay, let's come back to echo timing. I still think this is a mess and should be should be looked at. But okay, let's come back to echo timing and how it's supposed to work. So what do we have on so what is the issue here? The issue is this is a timing function which does not evaluate its argument. Is that the main question?
Well, I think, in my opinion, echo timing is correctly designed with the default being absolute timing in the method. We might want to call that option timing function by analogy to distance function.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, I think it's fine. So the question here is whether to have some more general mechanism of allowing users to intercept before evaluation the expression, and then provide a function that can do arbitrary things, and as long as it provides a pair result, comma, information, we can print the information and return the result. So that's why I think it's connected to paired.
Yes, I understand. So you're saying this is an echo held or something that takes, or held echo. You're saying that it's something like this, where it says, where there's an F here, or timing, for example, and where when this is executed, okay, so let's just look at what this might look like. So you're saying it might be, it's essentially held echo function of this. Is that right?
Yes, even though once we put it in operator form, we have the problem of how do we hold.
Do the holding.
Exactly.
Because
it's not quite
it's
not quite the same as echo function, because you're not going to print the output of timing. You're going to print just the first argument of the result and return
What do you mean?
the second argument.
You are printing the result of timing, right?
No, that's the first argument of timing that gets printed, and the second argument of timing is what gets returned by echo timing.
Right. So it will be more like hold echo pair function, because the function you are providing is a pair function that has to return a pair.
Exactly.
You're saying what? Paired? What are you saying?
Pair. So more than held echo function is a held echo pair function. In the sense that it's like fold pair, etc. We have functions that must return a pair, because we will do something different with the first argument and the second argument.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Timing is returning a pair. I got it.
Yes.
I finally understood what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yes, that's a big messy thing.
Right. But it's a powerful idea, and that's also the idea that we have considered for pair.
Yes, so the point is that you're going to do an evaluation, you're going to get a pair back. One of those pairs is being echoed and the other is being fed on for the next operation.
Right.
Yep.
So what is the generalization of that idea? The generalization of that idea, and it's not unrelated to the nest graph and all those kinds of things. Some function produces x, y, and then there's a side effect on x, but you're going to use y.
Right.
Correct? Or the other way around?
This is the same type of idea we discussed for fold pair.
Yeah, fold pair list works in this way, right?
Right. We created things like take drop, etc.
What do you mean? The
take drop is another example of a function that commits to return a pair always.
You mean that this could have a take drop in it? Like
Exactly.
if I say this, what does that do? Am I confused here?
No, you would have to use the so put a list, or put another list like range 1, 2, 3, 4.
Another
So you need the first list there, comma, list 1, 2, 3, 4. After range 2, sorry, after range 10. Range 4. So it's taking and dropping, and so taking again.
I am very confused by this. Okay, so let me wrap an echo. What do I, is that even, I don't even know what that's doing.
Hash hash.
Now, by the way, in this case, it will be useful to me to see, and by the way, that's not going to work, is it?
No, we don't have an echo sequence.
Wow, that's an interesting problem. So that would be an echo function of this. And now the syntax colorer fails.
I don't, with us, no, I don't think it's going to work with
No,
sequence.
it's not going to work.
Well, you could just give it list, couldn't you?
Yeah,
Echo function of list of hash hash.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Where? In here? Echo
There,
function.
yeah.
Applied to
I don't know if echo function can actually take multiple arguments.
No, I don't think it can.
No.
Anyway, okay, that's not the relevant thing to this. But the most important thing here is this is a way of having a pipeline. Normally, we would compose functions, f of g of h of x, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a way of composing functions where the functions are where h is returning x, y, and we are only getting the y to feed on in the pipeline, and the x is being side effected away.
Right.
Yeah.
So that feels like some kind of headdress to H.
Right, that will be paired.
Is it just paired? But paired doesn't side effect it away. Paired generates a list. This is more like a do paired, as in what we're saying is if H, right? If H is, or it's some kind of curry-like thing, because what it's doing is it's taking H of X. H of X is going to return two things. One of them we're going to throw away. And one of them we're going to do two things. We're going to take that and to the, eventually what we're going to do is H is going to return AB, and then we're going to apply some function U to A, for example, and we're going to return B. So the result is this, I claim. So how do we specify that? So
I actually have to go. I have another meeting in like just a few minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Okay.
see ya.
Yes.
Well, okay. So again, back to echo timing.
So I think there are two different problems here. One is making echo timing more powerful so that it can handle threads and things like that. The other thing, which is the discussion suggested there, is how to link echo to paired. And in my opinion, the key idea is to make paired echo hold first. I think if paired was hold first, which I wasn't planning, we would make it more powerful because it would be able to handle expressions before evaluation.
Is it going to cause weird? I mean, generally, it's a big threshold to make something hold first.
Indeed, yes. That's why
I don't know. I don't know the. But you can't do this with paired, can you? Unless you have a third argument.
Paired is like the thing that gets the A comma B, and then it's up to you to decide what you want to do with A and B. And really, its echo timing is essentially
Right, but
it's
so-
fully general. You could put anything in the timing function. It doesn't really have to be returning a timing for A and the result for B. The timing function, whatever you put out.
No, I understand, but timing happens to do the same thing that paired does. That is, it returns an expert and an f of expert.
Yeah.
Where its f is the side effect of is the timing thing. So what is consuming paired? What is your idea for how we consume the paired, which is what I was talking about here?
For example, we could map paired and get some sort of, this is what I had, this is what I have now. And a table of them, for example.
Yeah, no, I know what paired is for, but I don't understand what the relationship between paired and what you want to do with echo is. Because what you want to do with echo is take one element of the paired and then return the other element of the paired. Take one element and echo it, and then return the other element.
Mm-hmm.
So the example would be a bit farther down when it prints both. Because the original thing is that users have asked several times already, how do I print both? What I had before and what I have now.
Yeah, I understand. That was my echo sandwich thing.
Right.
Actually, it's not even an echo sandwich. It's worse than that. It's an echo with a before evaluation, after evaluation.
Well, you see that by having paired hold first, we can already do it even with echo function.
No, I see that. But, okay, so what you're proposing is that we're saying echo function of paired.
Right, and there we put what we want to do.
Wait a second. What are you doing with this? No, this doesn't work.
Unevaluated of expression.
Right.
Whew. But even that, wait a second. So what this is then doing is it's taking paired.
You need to have paired of something.
Right. Paired of a function. And so we are going to print expert and f of expert.
Yeah, I understand. This is really complicated and weird. I mean, I understand. So that's going to be in the opposite order. It's going to be expert result, and then it's going to be hold of input, right?
Yeah.
Look, I think, an echo before after or something that could be wrapped around an expression would clearly be useful. I mean, that would give you am I confused here? I mean, it seems like that would be useful. And then that would be an echo that would be formatted to just show, just like echo formats like that, we would have something that would show a before and after with different colors or something like this.
We can do something specific, certainly. This
Now,
was a way of.
Now, wait a minute. If we have echo before after, there's a question of what matches with what, because the before could be echoed long before the after comes out. See what I'm saying? They'll nest.
Or you could wait and echo them both at the same time.
We don't want to do that. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a better idea. I mean, that could be conceivably some weird method option for echo before after. I agree that this is a really useful debugging thing to see before and after. I mean, when it echoes the before, it would be implicitly held, right?
Right.
I suppose what we would do would have a hold form, probably, but the before would have a hold form so that if you copy it, it doesn't explode.
In some sense, it's like saying that the label is the expression before.
Yes, something like that. Although I think we wouldn't want to do it that way. I think what we would want to do is some kind of thing. How would we match them up? How would we match up? Because we certainly know, I mean, well, we can know with a sort of UUID type thing. I wonder whether we could format it so that it actually has a bracket connecting it. And that would be really cool if we could do that.
Right,
You know what I'm
because they
saying?
can be nested.
Yes, exactly. And this is a very useful function. By the way, Brian on livestream is suggesting echo thread for presumably the pairing undoer. That makes sense. What does echo thread do? Oh, I see. Echo. No, echo thread would be echoing. It would be threading across this list, but I don't think that's quite the right thing. Look, I really like this echo before after thing, which I mean, maybe that's not the right name.
A bit too long, but yeah, it would be great to have something specific.
Okay, but so let's come back to echo timing for a second, what we're doing there. It's very obscure that echo timing just says, you know, times here. It's very obscure because it's like, how do you, if I were to do this thing here, and can I put a label in there?
Yes, it's the second argument of echo timing.
I see. So I could put an N there.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's nice. Okay.
I guess the question is, do you want this to display in units
I don't know.
or as is?
I kind of think as is, because I think what you want is, maybe it's an option for echo timing. I'm not sure.
I think you
Maybe
would
there's,
have to change the method function.
yes, that would be okay. Quantity, something or other quantity.
Right.
That's a decent idea.
Actually, that might be a way out of your previous discussion if we introduce a new timing function with excuse that it returns a quantity.
Yes.
So timing and absolute timing come pre-paired, if that makes sense.
What do you mean by paired?
They already inherently return a pair. They're not a function that you would need to wrap paired around it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
So I guess whatever this function is, does it require the user to give it a function that returns a pair explicitly and use
What
paired
function?
themselves? Like
Which function?
echo hold or echo pair that eats an expression, and you want to echo something but return something else.
So I see. So what you're proposing is, so let's just be clear. There are two functions we've got. We've got echo before after, which is a fairly specific case.
Yeah.
And then we've got echo pair, which would take, so echo pair would expect that it is going to be given an expression and an echo, basically. That's what it thinks it's going to be fed. Echo pair, sorry, thinks it's going to be fed that. And it is essentially, it is like echo function with a #2. Is that right?
I'm not sure I follow. I think this would be more like expert, f. And then we expect that f of expert returns a pair.
So I think there's like three possibilities maybe. There's echo pair that gets a pair itself, right? But you might also want to have instead the first argument, like some function. First argument is expert, second argument is a function.
Right. So this would echo pair of timing would then do the right thing.
Yeah.
But there's a separate thing which is more like echo pair function, where you just give it timing and it does the right thing.
Yes. And potentially also you could do expert comma timing, not just the operator form. And
Yes.
I guess my question is, timing is a function that is already paired.
Indeed.
So
Most are not.
is the design that you would give something that is a paired function every time into that, or do we want a function where you would give it an F and it would do the paired for you?
Well, I mean, that's the
Because
difference
I think
between.
it's kind of a shame that timing and absolute timing come pre-paired. I've often wanted to just get the timing and not return the result.
Indeed, so have
if
I.
there was a paired back then maybe timing and absolute timing would have returned that.
No, but
Another
well,
idea.
okay. So you're saying.
If we're talking about new timing functions.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that if I said, let's say the time, which would be the thing that just gives me the time, right? You're saying that this would do what you are now proposing echo timing does, right? Paired returns expo result and then the time of expo.
Yes, I think that's right. In the model of echo pair receiving a pair.
Yes.
I also think that Ian was complaining about the order, but that might not be so difficult to change with reverse applied.
It's still pretty weird.
I think there's two things. There's a function that eats a pair, and then there's a function that eats an expression, and a function that produces a pair.
Say that again. Say that again.
So there's like echo pair of an explicit pair.
Okay. Echo pair of a pair. Yes.
But then there's like echo timing does not accept a pair. It accepts an expression and a function that you use to generate the pair. It's a method option.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yep. And then that potentially has its timing function in it.
So echo timing could just be generalized where the timing function is instead just a second argument. And it doesn't need to be a timing function. It just needs to be something that returns a pair.
Right. So this is, what on earth would that be called? I'm going to call it echo side, but that's a horrible name. Where that with this
So for example, you'd put timing there.
Right, where P returns a pair. And so one example of that would be echo side of expa paired. And paired has an operator form. So paired of F would do the right thing, correct?
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Is there another thing? And then we've also talked about echo before after. Is that related to these, or is that something yet different?
And so before we echo side also, I what if there was a different version where you just give it F and it does the paired for you, but I don't know which one we prefer, given that absolute timing and timing already return a pair. But like,
okay, so there's a possibility.
There's like a total memory used or something that just returns the memory, so you would have to do paired of that.
So expa comma G, and that's equivalent to echo side of expa paired of G. Right?
Right.
Yep.
Can we write echo before after in terms of these other things? No, because these echo pair is echoing just the second member of the pair. Right, so echo before after is echo of
Or the first member of the pair and returning the second one.
how do we do that? How do we do that?
It could return both. I mean, it can print anything we want and then return one of them.
Well, it returns the after. Returns. Look, it's got to return.
This definitely returns the after and prints both the before and the after.
Right.
But at the same time.
No, when they're available.
Right. Well, that's what you want for echo before after. What I mean is that with the previous functions, we could do something that prints both at the same time.
Yes.
And
How?
then returns one of them.
But it's somewhat obscure.
Yes, it's what you have on the left. It's doing that thing.
Right. This horrifying thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty horrifying.
The operator form of paired would have to return a pure function, right?
Yes.
I suppose, yes. Oh boy. Okay, this turned out to be much more complicated than expected. I have to go to something different here. Can you guys have a further think about this, and let's discuss this more? I think there's some very interesting functions here.
Indeed.
Oh boy, that's unfortunate. Oh, in terminals, but I don't have to see that in like what I'm doing.
No, we talked to Roman. He says he can provide a variable that will allow the right thing in notebooks.
Okay, fine. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, good. Thank you all. Thanks to folks on the live. Oh, what is this? Is this simple?
That's very simple.
Why wouldn't that just work? Well, wait a minute. It's got to go in the order inside the association.
Yes, I think this is doable. It's just the feeling of adding arbitrary things in associations.
We have to talk about it. Sorry, we have to talk about it. It's not so obvious.
Okay. No, this is longer.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay. To be continued another time. All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.